Hello. On behalf of my NIFA colleagues, we're very excited to provide this NIFA update. We've learned over the years that the Nutrition Today schedule at ASN is packed. It's fun and informative, but doesn't always have time for us to give a full NIFA update during the meeting. We do have a number of sessions that you'll hear about today where we'll dive more in depth into some of our key initiatives during the conversations with USDA that Dr. Suzanne Saluska, who we will meet today, will present at. We'll also have a deep dive on our climate relevant work, including some of our grantees being featured at the ASN chain meeting. We will also be presenting some of our federal fellowships and higher educational supports that we'll briefly highlight today. And then Suzanne and I will also be participating in ASN office hours. So feel free to reach out to us, NIFA, during those times, and or as you'll see throughout today, most of our names are our emails. So first name, last name at USDA.gov. So always feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly and I can help coordinate the connections across NIFA, both within our nutrition team, or as you want to look across our broad swath of agricultural resource support. So I'm very happy to walk through today's update with you. Do know we're going to go through a wide number of nutrition specific programs. So edit, rewind as helpful for you to get through things and or listen again, but always feel free to reach out to our program officers as you want to learn more. Today is designed to just give you a brief update of where we're at and to show you our breadth and our depth in nutrition, but does not by any means give all the details to all the programs highlighted or all the programs that we support. So with that, I do want to start with really emphasizing NIFA and USDA as a whole really prioritizes diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility. And we really do try to do that in both our presentations and our actions. This is our non-discrimination statement, so you can learn more about our work here, but always feel free to give us constructive input about where and how we can do better to reach the needs that you have. Also want to highlight, besides diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, USDA has a number of other core priorities. This includes climate, which we'll talk about our work and how that intersects with food systems and nutrition security today. And we will also touch briefly on some of our work on the priority to create more and better markets. And then throughout, you'll see a huge emphasis on our work and assets that help with the core priority to tackle food and nutrition security. And like I said, throughout all this work, we prioritize equity throughout all we'll do and highlight some efforts today within the NIFA nutrition programs that really help to do that. I do want to give a big picture of what NIFA is. Dr. Saluska will talk a little bit more about what these terms are in terms of how they fit into our program types, in terms of using research, education, extension. We also like to lift up innovation as well. But most of you guys hopefully are familiar that we are one of the key extramural science funding agencies within USDA's research, education, economics mission area. This is currently led by Dr. Shavonda Jacobs-Young. You'll hear about some of her key nutrition initiatives today. We really do aim to support long-term viability of agriculture, and we do that through strategic leadership and funding of groundbreaking discoveries that many of you featured here today lead. I have the privilege among Dr. Saluska, Dr. Robert Godfrey, and Dr. Huey to work on our nutrition security priority team. So this is our effort at NIFA to really lean into the Secretary's priority to tackle food and nutrition insecurity. And we've really built a robust team across our agency on efforts to do that. And you'll see that highlighted in some of our key programmatic areas today, particularly around climate, food loss and food waste, and also diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and also as highlighted today, our workforce supports. These are big picture, the relevant programs that we have around food and nutrition security. As I noted at the top, we're not going to go through all of these, but we really like to emphasize for those who are getting to know NIFA, we have a lot to offer, and we do really want to make sure that you get the breadth and depth of the opportunities where you might intersect with our funding programs. We have a lot to be proud of. Our nutrition security team was awarded by our agency and mission area for our team award and accomplishments. Some of these include leveraging the historic White House conference, helping to implement the national strategy on hunger, nutrition, health, accelerating progress on the White House initiative to end cancer as we know it, As noted, we've been working on the Secretary's core priority. You'll learn more from Dr. Saluska today, our work on ASN for better health and establishing the first USDA nutrition hub. And we've also been working on an executive order about advancing women's health. So these are big picture, some of the initiatives at the president and the department level. NIFA has been at the forefront of contributing to, and a big part of those contributions are our partnerships with you, our grantees across the country. So as emphasized, NIFA hones in on a variety of agricultural sciences, many of which are listed here. You could see from our standpoint, we kind of cluster a lot of our nutrition work under that core priority of advancing food and nutrition security. And these are what we call our NIFA topic pages. It's somewhat our table of contents of navigating our web content, but it's also a good example of how to kind of navigate the different funding opportunities within these core areas. We'll share in some of our relevant links today. We have topic pages on food and nutrition security. We also have a topic page on local and regional food system. Suzanne will mention our food loss and food waste. We also have one on nutrition education, and we are working on adding 2 more on prevention and community nutrition. So those are always good ways. I'll always kind of send those topic pages as good ways to get started to understand the relevant programs in your areas. But again, that's kind of with the nutrition specific lens, but do want to elevate for your agriculture, science, colleagues, and connections. We do have a lot of other programs to offer. At this point, I get to transition to Dr. Suzanne Saluska, our Deputy Director for the Institute for Food Safety and Nutrition. She's going to walk through more specifically how we do the things we do at NIFA. Suzanne?
Thank you so much, Dr. Fleischhacker. So one of the guiding plans that guide the efforts, many of whom we're going to talk to you about today, are in our NIFA strategic plan. Again, we'll have QR codes for you if you want to easily go right to our web pages that house this information. So all of the strategic objectives that NIFA is working on are listed here. But as Sheila mentioned, and others will mention, we're really going to highlight and talk about Objective 4, which is investing in research, education, and extension programs that prioritize food and nutrition security and seek to ensure the food supply is safe. Next slide. Just so that you better understand our structure, this is a simplified version of our organizational chart here. And as you can see on the left-hand side is really our operations. So that's our Office of Grants and Financial Management, our planning and accountability, our equal opportunity. To the right-hand side is really what falls underneath our program area. And that's where you see our institute here and where many of the national program leaders and the colleagues that you're going to meet today. Next slide. Again, not everyone, not all of our colleagues could be on this webinar today. You will see many of these individuals that are here on the page, but we do like to showcase those pictures so you do have an idea when you're reaching out virtually or via email, who am I talking with? So these are our colleagues in Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition, and this work would not be possible without each and every one of them. So thank you. Next slide. Okay, this is really exciting because now we get to share with you those opportunities for funding that we are going to showcase, and we'll break those up into a couple of different areas, and we'll start out here with our AFRI programs. Oh, but before we do, I didn't want to be remiss in helping you to understand a little bit more about our project and our grant types. So as Dr. Fleischhacker mentioned earlier, with that slide where you saw like the levers, we really separate our project types into research, education, extension. Now, you don't have to be necessarily at a land-grant university to have the extension piece. That can also mean outreach. And then combining all 3 of those, so research, education, extension, is where you get that integrated piece. And you're going to hear about this language as we describe our programs. So integrated can be often thought of as 2 of the 3 of the components of research, education, and extension. So hopefully that helps you as you're hearing those words. And then we have a variety of grant types. And so Standard usually is applicable. It's kind of the baseline to most individuals. Strengthening is where we're really looking at some of those underserved institutions, communities, and trying to lift up that work there under that program. You're going to hear about opportunities for like conference grants, or we might have equipment grants. And again, just these various grant types will vary based on your eligibility, your institution, and even sometimes your career path, as maybe you're a postdoc, or how many years you've been a project director. So again, hopefully that gives you some grounding. Next slide. Okay, here is where I do get to turn it over to my national program leader, Dr. Christopher Grimes.
I'm going to go ahead and jump in and talk about diet, nutrition, prevention of chronic diseases, since we've gotten that great grounding in what integrated projects look like. And Chris will be next to take you through a couple of our single function offerings in AFRI. So I'm Mallory Koenings, and in diet, nutrition, prevention of chronic diseases, as you might anticipate, this is a very broad program area priority, really looking at a plethora of approaches where we can address the prevention as well as control and management of chronic diseases. If on the whole, that's sounding like your area, I really encourage you to go to this QR code and dig in. This is a program area priority where we have a structure of sub-priorities, that I think can be really helpful if you're thinking about, if perhaps the intervention design that you have in mind might align, as well as approaches, So that's where we're really highlighting precision approaches, policy systems, and environmental change approaches, as well as culturally and contextually competent approaches. So there's a couple of things there. If this is an area that resonates with you, you'll see that in addition to standard grants, conference grant types, and those FASE or phase grant types, and those are food and agriculture science enhancement grant types are invited. So if you're interested in and qualified for smaller grants, which we call seed grants, or interested in and qualified for a sabbatical grant or equipment grant, those can be sent here too. So of course, my email's shown here, and feel free to follow up with me. I do want to highlight that this program area priority, as well as some of the subsequent program area priorities that are going to be discussed by Dr. Chris Grimes, offer the partnerships. You'll see here that there's an opportunity for an additional $150,000 to really encourage partnering across various organizations. So if you're already doing that kind of work and might be interested in learning more, don't hesitate to mention that to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mallory. It's my pleasure to introduce to you A1343, or Food and Human Health. And whereas the previous program area was a broad look at diet, nutrition, and prevention of chronic disease, Food and Human Health is a bit more specific. This program area is seeking proposals or applications that investigate the interrelationships of food or components of food and their impact on the gut microbiota to improve human health. And so this is a program area that is a research-only program area. And the budget requests they vary. So they're not to exceed $650,000 for a standard project that ranges from 36 to 60 months. However, with that partnership, as Mallory had mentioned, they can increase to $800,000 there. As far as grant types, there are a variety. You have standard conference phase grants, which go into strengthening, standard new investigator, strengthening conference seed equipment, and sabbatical grants as well. With the specificity of this program area, I feel that I should mention some of the objectives or aims or approaches in this program area. And so applicants must address one of the four following aims. It's one, to investigate the interrelationship of food or components of food and the gut microbiota on human health. Two, research the functional outcomes of the interrelationship between toxic elements such as like arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury on the human microbiome. Three, investigate relationships of food contaminants on the human gut microbiota. And finally, applicants can determine the structure and functional outcomes of certain metabolites of the gut microbiome in foods or food components and or contaminants. And so, as you can see, this is a very specific program area that we're looking at. I should also mention here that applications using a whole food approach is a preferred aim. The enrichment or fortification or micro and nano encapsulation must use whole foods. And then I also want to finish this program area by saying that this program area does not support research on the development of dietary supplements or the establishment, expansion, or maintenance of dietary databases. Next slide. This next program area, the national program leader contact for this is Honda Chen, who's not with us today, but I do want to say just a few words about this. We do request proposals for research and this is a research-only program area. And these applications, their aim are to develop risk-based approaches to ensure the quality, safety, and nutrition of novel foods and food ingredients and conventional foods. This program area also seeks to advance food manufacturing competitiveness to ensure a more sustainable, resilient, and healthy food supply. Applications must address one or more of the following. The order does not necessarily indicate the importance as I list these off. Number one, to improve the knowledge and understanding of chemical, physical, biological, nutritional properties of novel foods and novel food ingredients, including effects of climate change as appropriate. Two, to improve the safety, quality, shelf life, convenience, nutrient profile, or sensory attributes of novel foods and novel food ingredients. Three, to develop innovative manufacturing technologies that increase productivity, improve food quality, and our nutritional value of foods and food ingredients that are more energy, water, and resource efficient. Or finally, advance science and develop technologies to improve shelf life and minimize food loss and waste throughout the food supply chain, including consumer empowering tools to support a circular bioeconomy. This program area also, the grant type doesn't go over, the budget is not to exceed $650,000 for 3 to 5 years. And unless you are achieving a partnership grant, which can add that extra $150,000. I will now turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Cherry.
Thank you, Chris. So the next area that I'm going to cover is environmental justice. So climate change poses a significant risk to agriculture, natural resources, and the environment across the United States. These changes are disproportionately affecting historically underserved and overburdened communities. The A1461 Environmental Justice Program area, it seeks to advance a better understanding of environmental justice. And here we're talking about in the context of injustices affecting food and agriculture, local natural resources, and rural economies. Applications to this funding area are encouraged to advance the understanding of environmental and climate justice, including metrics that may be translated across geographical regions. Applications are also encouraged to increase understanding of community-level climate resilience thresholds. And you can do this by considering ways to ensure that recipients of federal funds advance environmental justice. Here we're talking about creating performance objectives, dedicating resources, and including professional development. Applicants are also encouraged to meaningfully incorporate participation of communities with environmental justice concerns. And here we're encouraging you to make sure that you include those communities at all stages of project development and execution. So when we think about the projects that will be funded under this program area, one project will be funded that focuses on advancing youth voice in environmental justice. And this is going to be particularly related to nutrition security and human health. And this award for this project, the maximum amount is $1 million. Project types here, they must be integrated, including research and extension projects only. We also will allow for grant types, including standard and conference grants only. If you have additional questions, please contact me or my colleague, Adam Wilkie. Up next, we have Dr. Lydia Kwame.
Hello, I am not Dr. Lydia Kwame. As you might have noticed in the chat, she popped in but popped off because she's experiencing some dental pain. So please keep her in your thoughts. But she is a fantastic national program leader and really helping lead and support our broad climate efforts, including the one Dr. Cherry just mentioned around environmental justice. This is actually led by Dr. Ashley Mueller, who is not a part of our Institute for Food Safety and Nutrition team, but she is an excellent ally for us across NIFA on nutrition. And this is particularly for the program she leads around rapid response. And this is an innovative funding mechanism NIFA has set up to really be more time sensitive to extreme weather events. And as you'll hear at ASN Chain, more about this program investment, but also from some of our grant teams in this space, they're doing some really innovative things, really thinking through the connections to food and nutrition insecurity. So Ashley is more than happy to take your questions as you want to learn about this new funding mechanism and our growing number of nutrition relevant grantees in this space. I also want to highlight the Sustainable Ag System. This is a large investment by NIFA that has a variety of program staff helping to make it happen, including Dr. Koenings, who you heard from earlier today. Our national program leader who staffs it right now is Dr. Lydia Kumar, who I indicated could not join us today, but she helped create this slide that really showcases our priorities in this large funding area that really do spotlight food and nutrition security. And they like to share that at the program director meeting they had this year and some of their recent analyses, they have noticed that just even moving it up in the priority listing has really helped. But we've done a ton of outreach on this particular funding opportunity within the climate community to lean into the nutrition security space and also in the nutrition space to learn more about how they can connect on sustainable ag systems. So very much we'll showcase this funding opportunity at ASN Chain. We've done a variety of webinars on this, both in our nutrition and climate space. And Lydia would love to meet with any of you guys as you want to learn more about how to build a competitive grant and really a team, a holistic team in this space. I will pass it off now to Dr. Saluska, who's been leading a variety of success for us at NIFA and food loss and food waste.
Thanks again, Sheila. So we are excited because this announcement just came out. So we have funded a Center for Research, Behavioral Economics, and Extension on Food Loss and Waste under the AFRI program. So again, this is no longer an open competition, but we are looking forward to working with our awardee, Purdue University, on this new center. And it really is going to explore more opportunities to looking at addressing food loss and waste and developing a national extension strategy and engaging with our minority serving institutions. So stay tuned if you're interested in this area. And
I have the opportunity. Oh, sorry.
I'm going to turn it back over to you, Mallory.
I get to talk to you all about our pre- and postdoctoral fellowship opportunities. This is within our AFRI Education and Workforce Development portfolio. There'll be a wonderful session where Dr. Fleischhacker will be able to dig into more of the details around it. I'll provide you kind of a little bit of a tasting at the moment, but that'll be in the federal fellowship session where you can learn more about both the pre- and postdoctoral fellowships. These are structured where the fellow themselves is applying directly to NIFA, right, for the support. For the predoctoral fellowships, the goal is that the applicant has advanced to candidacy, and there's the opportunity for up to 3 years of support. You can see the maximum award amount shown there. These are broadly supportive across, right, the full agricultural enterprise, right, across our sustainable ag approaches, our climate science, right, our food and nutrition security spaces. So wonderful opportunities to really be thinking about both, for yourselves and also for, right, any members of your research groups and your labs. If we could go to the postdoctoral, here in the postdoctoral, it's a very similar structure. And the postdoctoral fellowship opportunity is for 2 years, right after the doctoral defense is complete. That's the process there, right? Both have that broad opportunity. Both have great flexibility in what the funds can be utilized for, right? So the funds can support stipends, tuition, fees, fringe benefits, supplies, publication costs, travel, right? Lots of wonderful and versatile use. So if you're interested, please attend the session. And also, right, there's a fabulous team led by Dr. Ray Ali that can provide more information. I will say that a highlight of the postdoctoral fellowship is that it is designed with the opportunity, right, in mind, that postdoctoral fellows are focusing on establishing themselves in a career, which means often that they're on the job market. So this is designed with the opportunity that a postdoctoral fellow may find, right, their first career opportunity, and may be seeking, right, after a year to move a postdoctoral fellowship award to, right, a new institution with that they're, right, newly employed at as they're establishing themselves early in their careers. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Dr. Sluka to tell you more about what we call our EEU.
Thanks so much, Mallory. So as Mallory's highlighted, we've got pre and post doctoral. So now let's talk about undergraduates. This is not the undergraduates themselves applying. This is about an institution, agency applying and then providing those experiences for undergraduates. And that's why you can see the larger amount sizes here. And we just really want to lift up that it applies to all those Farm Bill priorities that were talked about earlier. So nutrition security, food and nutrition security is definitely an area. And so we encourage you to take a look at this if you want to work with those undergraduates, bring them in, provide internships, externships as well. Next slide. We are now going to shift. So we've talked to you about our AFRI programs, and now we're moving into our non-AFRI programs. And we'll start out here on the next slide, also with another experience for working, with higher education. And that's our Higher Education Challenge Grants program. I was a project director myself, being back in academia on one of these challenge grants. And I can say they definitely help to strengthen what you want to offer as an institution and those innovations, whether it be, designing a new curriculum that talks, about, like in my case, when we designed it was around like grand challenges on food and nutrition security, to faculty scientific delivery systems or student recruitment and retention. So it's a really broad category, and you can get truly innovative again in those topics that are wide and far reaching across NIFA, including food and nutrition security. So you have the contact there and the award amounts as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chris Grimes.
All right. It's my pleasure again to speak about one of our non-AFRI programs, the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program, or GUSNIP for short. And I'm going to take just a few moments to speak about the breadth of this funding opportunity. There are 3 programs that make up the GUSNIP funding portfolio. That's the GusNIP Nutrition Incentive Program, the GusNIP Produce Prescription Program, and then the GusNIP NTAE, or our Technical Assistance Group. I want to focus in this webinar on two of these arms, the Nutrition Incentive Program and the Produce Prescription Program. The Nutrition Incentive Program conducts and evaluates projects intended to increase the purchase of fruits and vegetables by low-income consumers participating in SNAP or NAP through providing incentives at the point of purchase. The Produce Prescription Program supports projects that demonstrate and evaluate the impact of fresh fruit and vegetable prescriptions to increase procurement and consumption of fruits and vegetables, reduce individual and household food insecurity, and reduce healthcare usage and associated costs. For this year, the Nutrition Incentive Program has a funding limit of $36.3 million, and the Produce Prescription Program around $5.2 million. And myself, along with Dr. Keenings, we are co-leagued in the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program. Next slide. Now, more specifically about nutrition incentive projects, nutrition incentive, the program priorities for the Nutrition Incentive Project is to develop and evaluate projects to increase the purchase of fruits and vegetables by low-income consumers participating in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, and the income-eligible consumers participating in the USDA Nutrition Assistance Program, or NAP, in Puerto Rico, American Samoa, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands by providing incentives at the point of purchase. Now, as a part of the nutrition incentive leg of the Gus Schumacher program, there are three different funding types, or funding projects, if you will. The first is the pilot project. The pilot project aims to encourage new entrants who are seeking funding for the early stages of program development at or less than the county level. So it's really for those entities or organizations that are getting started in the area of nutrition incentives. In this case, the maximum award is $100,000 up to 12 months. The next arm, or the next project, would be the standard project, and this is for mid-sized groups that are developing incentive programs at the county, the multi-county, or even the state level. The maximum award for this project would be $500,000 for up to 48 months. And then there are the large-scale projects, and these are led by project teams developing multi-county, statewide, regional, or even national incentive programs with the largest target audience for all GusNIP projects. So this is really the largest of the GusNIP models in the Nutrition Incentive Program. And these awards are greater than $500,000 for up to 48 months. One important thing to realize that within the Nutrition Incentive Program, these projects do require a one-to-one match of funds. Next slide. Now I want to speak to you briefly about our Produce Prescription Project. Produce prescription projects allow healthcare providers to prescribe fruits and vegetables during routine visits to people experiencing food insecurity and or dealing with diet-related chronic illness such as type 2 diabetes. Produce prescription awards account for about $5.2 million to about 11 awardees. These projects demonstrate and evaluate the impact of fresh fruit and vegetable prescriptions. So I do want to emphasize the fresh fruit and vegetable prescriptions. The goals of this program are to increase procurement and the consumption of fruits and vegetables, reduce individual and household food insecurity, and reduce healthcare use and associated costs. Individuals who receive this funding are conducting projects that demonstrate and evaluate the impact of financial or non-financial incentive prescriptions of fresh fruits and vegetables, in addition to nutrition education opportunities to increase fresh fruit and vegetable consumption. Like I said, the maximum award budget is $500,000 for the produce prescription, and it's up to 3 years or 36 months, and there are no matching requirements for a produce prescription project. Next slide. What you see here is a graphic from our GusNIP. This is our year 3 findings, and it's a graphic that details the success of this project over time. In our year 3 findings, what you see is that we've reached more than 3,000 food retail outlets and clinics that are distributing incentives. And there was a local economic impact across the board of about $85.6 million. We're really excited for what has already occurred. We're looking forward to what is going to be happening within the GusNIP portfolio. And we're excited about working with groups and individuals, especially those that are supporting the Federal Food as Medicine Work Group, which is led by HHS. So we thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you in the GusNIP circle. I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Chris. So I'm back to talk a little bit about the Food and Agricultural Service Learning Program, or FASLP. And the primary goals for FASLP are to increase the knowledge of agricultural science and improve the nutritional health of children, to increase the capacity of food, garden, and nutrition education. Another goal is to foster higher levels of community engagement between farms and school systems by bringing together a variety of stakeholders. And the last goal of the FASLP program is to increase access to school meals for children living below the poverty line, the federal poverty line, and to improve the quality of those school meals that they have access to. The total program funding is approximately $1 million. Individual awards have a maximum amount of $240,000, and that's for a 24-month time period. And if you have any questions related to the Food and Ag Service Learning Program, please feel free to reach out to me. So I'm going to cover the next area, and this program leader couldn't be with us today, Lydia Kwame, but it's the Community Food Projects Competitive Grants Program. It is a mandatory program with the 3 standard grant types. The 3 types are planning projects, and the maximum award amount is $35,000 for up to 36 months. And it's important to note that a 1-to-1 match is required for these projects. And the goal is to bring together stakeholders from distinct parts of the food system to foster understanding of their local food security trends and helping them to plan for more long-term solutions. So these planning projects help to work towards long-term solutions. The second project type are the community food projects, and they have a maximum award amount of $400,000 for 48 months. And again, there's a 1-to-1 match required. And these projects provide investments in new startup projects or to invest in completing project plans that are with the goal of improving community food and nutrition security. And the last area is the Training and Technical Assistance Grant. And that has a maximum award amount of $250,000 per year, and no match is required. And this center or this grant, the awardee for this grant provides several services, including technical assistance and training to program applicants and awardees. So if you have any questions about this program area, please reach out to Dr. Kwame. And up next, we have Helen Chipman to discuss FNEP.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about the Expanded Food Nutrition Education Program, also known as FNEP. And this is a little bit of a shift from what we've been talking about thus far, because this is a capacity-funded project or program. But I want to underscore the importance of research in support of FNEP. And in fact, some of the projects that you've been hearing about thus far, you will see FNEP in some of the RFA language, some of the request for application language. So watch for that, because there could be an opportunity to do research or to have education and have FNEP involved as part of those projects that you may have. It's important, if you choose to involve FNEP, that you reach out to the state coordinator or the institutional coordinator so that there is a synergy rather than a disconnect on the program side and then the research side. This would be for people who are particularly interested in implementation research. Now, FNEP is what's called a capacity funded program. And what that means is that it is designated funds to specific entities. In this case, it is to 1862 and 1890 land grant institutions, and they are given a specific amount of funding based on a calculated formula. And that formula is based on poverty data. The intent of FNEP is to assist low-income families and youth in acquiring the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes, and the change behaviors that are necessary for nutritionally sound diets and to contribute to their personal development and improvement of the total family diet. What does that mean? It means we're trying to help improve the diet quality, the physical activity, the food safety, the food security and nutrition security, and the food and these food resource management, these areas that people actually are able to improve their lives even when they have limited financial resources. It follows a peer educator model, which means that we employ through FNEP people who are indigenous to the population that is being taught. And as I already said, it involves 1862 and 1890 land grant institutions and colleges. It's taught in the communities. And the thing about FNEP that I find so amazing, it is the nation's first federal nutrition education program for historically underserved populations. It is in its 55th year of providing programming, and it has had results year after year after year. More than 90% of participants show some level of improvement in what they're eating, as well as in their food safety, their diet quality, their physical activity, their food security, their food resource management practices. And that's both adults and youth. You can get a copy of the impacts. You see the QR code, and the impact report is on our webpage at this time. And those results are consistent across time. I think one of the things that might be important to researchers is that it's exciting when you can really bring together the research and the application, the research and the practice, and you can see lives changing. And there's a whole cadre of stakeholders, advocates, and collaborators that are in this same space. So by coordinating and by learning from one another, because program will have something that researchers can learn from, and researchers can learn something from the population that they're working with. It really is a bringing together the best of all worlds to improve the lives of our people in our population that are struggling financially. Audience is families, youth, and children with limited financial resources, parents and other caregivers, and primarily responsibility for feeding young children and young adults. And I've already talked about the approach and the impact. I think I'll switch then to sharing back with Suzanne, because I know some of what's happening with research, these new initiatives, also has a very direct opportunity with respect to FNEP.
Okay. Thank you so much to all my colleagues who joined today. I am going to round us out here and finish up the webinar. Appreciate them being on today. So I'm going to round it out with new initiatives and go through these fairly quickly because a lot of these you actually will hear from us at other sessions at ASN in Chicago. So next slide. We are working very closely with the Food and Drug Administration on an effort called Closer to Zero. This has been ongoing for a couple of years now, and it really is about looking at risk and exposure to toxic elements, especially for women who are pregnant or lactating infants and young children. And NIFA has made considerable investments, especially in our AFRI programs that you heard about earlier. So stay tuned and we'll provide more information, and you can find that at the QR code. Next slide. We also have been working closely with the national academies on exploring linkages between soil health and human health. They are developing a report, and this report actually, you can find it on their website. It will be announced and released to the public on June 13th. So depending on when you watch this recording, you can go back and also watch and get access to that report as well. So we're excited, and that highlights many of the items that are here and bulleted on this list. Next slide. We also, as you can see, partner with lots of various federal agencies. And in this initiative, we're partnering with the National Science Foundation. It's called the Convergence Accelerator Program, and there's various tracks. And this track just happens to be looking at advancing food and nutrition security. And NIFA has funded one of the 7 teams that are looking at how they can tackle these challenges. And you can learn more again by going to that website. Next slide. Dr. Fleischacker is really leading our efforts in this area. And again, we will highlight and bring highlights at the ASN chain session. So putting a plug in for that. And you can see here our work expands beyond USDA. And we, because again of Sheila, we really have a lead role in this US Global Chains Research Program workstream. And there's more than 100 members from 10 participating federal departments and agencies. So again, come and learn more about that in Chicago. The draft national strategy for reducing food loss and waste was released on December 2nd. We're now incorporating public comments. So those public comments are closed. However, stay tuned. Again, this should be coming out here soon, the final strategy. And that's really a collaboration between Environmental Protection Agency, USDA, and then again, the Food and Drug Administration. Next slide. We also, a priority, we talked about our mission area earlier, and this has really been a priority of our undersecretary, and that is our Ascend for Better Health initiative that combines research, data, and engagement. And again, you can find that and more information about this initiative. It has a lot to do with precision nutrition. We'll have some talking points also coming up on the website soon, so that you can tap into and get a better understanding of this program. The next slide is really the heart of where you can capture and look at some community data that we collected. We had 4 listening sessions with participants, and that was with Southern University and African Americans in their communities. We worked with Texas A&M International University to work with Hispanic Latino serving populations in Texas. And then we worked with United Tribes Technical College to really tap into more of the Plains area, Native American tribes. And then finally, we worked with our youth. Youth and 4-H are so vital and important. And you can check out all of those reports and the listening sessions, and we encourage you to utilize that data. Again, you can find that with the QR code. We have, again, when you watch this, I hope that you'll watch this in time, but there's some new opportunities and intersections that we've highlighted here recently, working on the WIC workforce and diversifying the workforce. And this is in collaboration with our partners at the Food and Nutrition Service. You did hear from Dr. Cherry earlier. She is one of the leads on this, along in a supporting role is also Sheila in helping us to lead these efforts. And so we do have 2 requests, opportunities for funding available again when you watch this, but available and open until July 1st. So, and the national strategy on WIC workforce development has also been published on our website, and that is guiding recommendations for the next 5 years on efforts that we're going to undertake as a USDA. Next slide. So really quickly, these are some NIFA resources that are available to you. So next slide. We do have career opportunities posted. You can review those at any time. There are from anywhere from, depending on where you are in your career. So if you're a student up to a current professional. Next slide. We always need panelists, so please submit your skills and your expertise. Is really important when you do submit to highlight what your expertise is in, because that's often what we're going to search for. So we encourage you to become a panelist and see how that process works on that end. Next slide. And then here's all the plethora of resources that we have available to you as you're looking at what should I compete for, what's the process, what's the guide. So check out our grant resources as well. Next slide. And then you can always find our RFA calendar, our upcoming events at these as well. But also, as you'll see on the next slide, perhaps one of the easiest ways is to really sign up for our NIFA update. So this is one of the more simplified. You'll get our emails, then you'll be on our contact list, and you can be sure to get all of those updates. So I think that yeah, that rounds us out. Thank you so much. Like I said, Dr. Fleischacker and I will be in Chicago, and so we're looking forward to visiting with many of you and making those connections. We'll be at office hours, hosting numerous presentations. So again, thank you for your time.